Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Haven't enjoyed your day so far, and yesterday was an incredible one because the CDL have finally done something, updating the rule set for the 2021 season ahead of the Challengers Cup tomorrow, and hopefully the launch of the Call of Duty League sometime later this month. But Raid has been added for all 3 game modes, the tactical rifles have been banned, but certainly some other things that are still allowed in the rule sets right now, which are a little bit questionable. What's going to happen to some of these GAs that the pros have been using for the last several weeks that haven't yet been implemented into the actual rule set itself? What else could change? Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. Let's hop into things then. So Crimsix says this has been a long 3 months, wrapping up next week, time to start grinding Cold War. I imagine by wrapping up next week he means wrapping up all these things he's been working on, but I was kind of hoping that wrapping up next week might mean wrapping up the end of the off season and then maybe a launch weekend at the end of next week or something like that. But of course no announcement from the CDL as yet, but they did at least do something yesterday. Clayster says we've got Tommy and Mac, so Zuma and Mac in Texas now with Sim, so a Seam I believe they're still scrimming with at the current time. We like to call that the Inder special, love that. So referring to ILLey, that being Inder being in Canada last season of course for the Dallas Empire. So yes, a lot of teams are still certainly spread around, but as we talked about the last couple of days, most players now moving to Texas for the upcoming season, and hopefully that's going to have a major positive impact on the fairness of the results we do see in this early part of Black Ops Cold War in this online arena. Let's go through then what the CDL confirmed yesterday. As Paradox says, rule set updates, maps and modes list, restricted items, and then the CDL come out and confirm it themselves. So a classic map is added. Challengers Cups also now run to best of 3s until top 64, so we'll talk about that in just a second right here. But this is what happens here in the changelog. So maps and modes, we'll go back to this. Added raid and removed cartel. Added raid and removed crossroads from search and destroy. Control added raid and removed Moscow. It was pretty interesting this because I heard that there were some discussions about whether raid or Moscow was going to be in the map set. I think some of the pros were even favouring Moscow for a time, but they've decided to go with raid for all 3 modes. And yeah, so cartel is of course gone from the rule set, which for some reason was there. Like the pros were kind of confused why cartel was ever in the map set. Initially when it was first announced by the CDL, they were like, we didn't really even play this one. And then crossroads is gone from search and destroy. I can understand that for 4v4 search, maybe the map is slightly too small, but there's still certainly some question marks to be had here going forwards. And then Moscow gone on the control side of course. And in restricted items, all the tactical rifles are finally now banned, right? There were some major concerns, especially with the Challengers Cup just around the corner, that in some of these early rounds, especially now is best of 3s right until top 64, that well, someone on the other team is going to be pulling out an M16 and AUG, which isn't banned in the official CDL rule set, and well, can just dominate you with that weapon, which is basically better than any other assault rifle in the game, especially with the AK-47 being GA'd or whatever. You could technically use an M16, run into Krigs, and just smoke them off the map every single time. So as you can see right here, the rule set, or the maps and the modes list as it stands right now: Checkmate, Crossroads, Garrison, Moscow, and Raid in terms of hardpoints. Search and Destroy is Checkmate, Garrison, Miami, Moscow, Raid, and then Control, Checkmate, Garrison, Raid. So Checkmate for all 3 modes, Garrison for all 3 modes, Raid for all 3 modes, and yeah, Crossroads only here for 1 of them, and then well, Moscow here for 2 of them, and then Miami only here for the Search and Destroy. So pretty decent maps overall. 5 hardpoints, 5 Search and Destroys, 3 controls, tend to be what we typically see in these games. Certainly some questions to be asked. Okay, should Crossroads be in the Search and Destroy rotation? Should Moscow have gone from Control? Are these the best maps we could have come up with? But well, Raid in the maps that at the end of the day is definitely a bright spark on, well, a big question mark that when this game first came out, are the maps going to be that good? I think they've proved in the long haul to not be too bad, and yeah, Raid is in for pretty much everything. Question going forwards, I suppose, is there going to be another map with Season 2? We'll talk about that in a second, which could also be added into the rules, and if that is the case, right, we've currently got 5-5-3 in terms of maps. If Standoff was to come into the game, let's say with Season 2, and that was also to be great for all 3 modes, of course we don't know yet whether it would necessarily work for Control, but for Hardpoint and Search and Destroy it certainly would do. Would the pros decide to bring it in instead of another map, or would they just decide to have a 6 map set, right? Because if you had 6 maps for Hardpoint, 6 maps for Search and Destroy, I think you'd have a really nice diverse map set in the sense that I would be seeing a lot of things all the time, and if all maps are viable, why not have all of them available, right? Whereas we always tend to just go down to this like 5 maps for each thing, and maybe that's because there's kind of 5 maps which are maybe a little bit questionable, like people may be looking at Checkmate thinking, okay, how good really is this map? If we had loads of better maps, then maybe maybe we could get rid of it and just have a solid core 5 map set. But yeah, if we do get other maps throughout the course of the season, which on the current evidence, I imagine maybe we will, it's a question mark as to how they are going to handle it going forwards. But some of the pro players not necessarily agreeing with these decisions, right? Because I imagine these decisions have been made with the pros in coordination with the CDL. There's been some representatives for each team giving their thoughts on which map should be used, in the same way to the GAs have been decided over the last couple of weeks. But of course, some of the pros don't necessarily agree with the decisions of their teammates or the decisions of the majority of the players in the league. And as Octane says, no way I practiced squaring up on A point on Moscow for weeks for no reason at all. So him obviously not very happy. The Moscow control has been removed and well, Raid now in the game instead. People are still asking the question, how well does Raid really work for control? The 1 point behind Tiki is a little bit strange. The other one by Ring, maybe not exactly the best control map in the world. And well, clearly Octane thinks the Moscow should have been the one to stay instead. And well, when Crone tweets this out saying all the tactical rifles have been banned, TJ replies, Moscow was the best control. As Kenny says his teammate, we, the team, disowned TJ as of today. That was my map, right? So Octane and TJ certainly not happy that Moscow is gone from the map set, but I suppose if it's the majority rules at the end of the day, that's kind of how it's going to go. You could also say that maybe we could just add 4 control maps, but yeah, probably not necessary when it's only played one time in a series. But as Sparkling Nacho points out, there's still some things in the game which are allowed, which are, well, still allowed in the professional rule set, right? Even though they are gentlemen's agreemented. And it's pretty interesting to me, the fact that the last time they came up with the rule set was end of November sometime. Now it's like 2 months down the line, but still, the only things they've changed are some of the maps and banning the tac rifles, which probably should have been banned anyway, right? Stuff like Molotovs are still allowed in the game, and all these gentlemen's agreements that the pros have come up with have not really attempted to be integrated yet into the rule set. Do they have something else planned for that? Maybe they do, but yeah, still pretty interesting that after all this time, nothing that much has particularly changed here, right? And as Mork says, just a heads up for everyone in the cup this weekend, if you one-way me or are purposely trying to one-way with a smoke, I will be pulling out a thermal, right? So thermals are GA'd, but well, if you're trying to abuse smoke grenades, then I'll be pulling out a thermal because they're not banned in the CDL rule set, right? So all the pros are playing with certain rules, certain things banned, certain things allowed, but well, as soon as something actually happens, maybe someone breaks GAs, maybe they're using too many smokes, maybe they're trying to abuse the smoke one-ways, as Mork says, all of a sudden the GAs might go out the window, thermal comes into play, and then everything is a lot more hectic and a lot more different, right? As Paris says, thermals won't help, people will just run cold-blooded instead. So my expectation is that probably a CDL rule set 1.2 v1.2 is required before the CDL even launches it. Maybe they were trying to rush this out in advance of the Challengers Cup this weekend. Now maybe everyone's back to work after the holidays. But there was another thing that changed, of course, and that is that Challengers Cups are now best of 3 up until top 64. Now there was a few changes requested here. One of them was this one, right, making the game a little bit more fast-paced to get to that point, right? A lot of the pro teams are just going to, well, at least the high-tier amateur squad's just going to run through whoever they're playing up until this point, which means best of 3s probably makes sense to make things a little bit quicker. But at the same time, a lot of people are also requesting double elimination from slightly earlier on, maybe up to like top 32, top 16 or something, was right now up to top 8. It's just single elim, right? If you don't get to top 8, you're just out of the tournament with no chance of returning. And yeah, there was some discussion now. I think that the top 64 round is because it's for points. The rounds prior will always be best of 3. So that seems to be what it's looking like right now. But yeah, certainly some discussions, right? As CD says, we need to try and get the CDL to do a double elim from top 32 and allows more teams to try and achieve top 8 rather than having an impossible game every week. And that's the problem, right? If you're slightly lower down in the rankings in terms of the seeding right now, you're going to play a fantastic team before you get to top 8. And well, usually that's going to mean you're out of the tournament. But if it's double elim from top 32, maybe that gives the team more of an opportunity, as we saw Doug's team last time falling short to Wester at top 16 or top 32, I think it was, with not too much chance of a comeback, given that Wester are considered by a lot of pro teams to be, well, better than a lot of pro teams right now. As Madcat says, I think double elim from top 16 would be a massive improvement. Teams seeded from 9 to 16, the lower side of them teams have it so much easier than the higher, and the gap will always be minimal, but impossible to bridge. And a few other things just to finish off then, as I tweeted out this yesterday. Now, Raid is confirmed. I hope Treyarch look to drop the real best map in COD history for Season 2. This is, well, my favourite map from Call of Duty Black Ops 2. That, of course, being Standoff. Raid was also fantastic, but yeah, Standoff was probably my favourite at the time. I think this would work phenomenal for Hardpoint and Search and Destroy. And if they do bring it back with Season 2, right? Season 1 they dropped Raid. Season 2, you're sure they must bring back something. Maybe a map from Black Ops 2, maybe a map from Black Ops 1, maybe a remastered map of some sort from Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 4. Who really knows? But they'll probably bring back something, and I imagine it will be something which at least is reasonable for competitive play. And if it's Standoff, right, what happens? Do we get rid of one of the other maps from the map set? Do we bring this map in addition? It's certainly a nice problem to have based on, well, some of the issues that we've seen maybe over these these last couple of years. And as Clayster says, Raid is back. You know what else is coming back. So Ponytail Clayster, of course, way back in the day here, I believe this is when he was on Unite, and a famous clip that Kevy tweets out, which we looked at a few days ago in the top 10 best raid moments of all time. That's Clayster's 1 versus 3 here on here on Raid against Freako Impact as it was at the time. But yeah, the Cap 40 versus the SMG, taking out Parasite right here after getting 2 kills with the sniper. The thermal DSR is Ponytail Clayster's playground, and you can see it waving around in the background here. Absolutely legendary times. And well, it's going to be cool to see Clayster back in action right here. And if he does grow the Ponytail out, there's no chance anyone is matching this man at the subliners this upcoming season. I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below on this. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. Really helps out the YouTube algorithm to know you enjoy this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and I've grown the Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.
Capture the objective. Hardpoint identified. Hardpoint contested. We've lost the hardpoint. Hardpoint is secure. We're in the lead. We've lost the hardpoint. This isn't working. We're behind. Hardpoint is secure. Contesting hardpoint. Hardpoint contested. Hardpoint lost. Hardpoint located.
Artillery awaiting target coordinates.